Hurr-ay, hurr-ay. Bernadette Baxter's the name, and boy do I have a tale for you. You see, back in 1887, Edgar Holmes made his way from England here to the great city of New Orleans. The city was in desperate shortage for doctors right after the Civil War, and he thought the city might be a little welcoming to someone with more mediocre academic standards, if you will. Indeed, he did find himself a college willing to take him on and train him to be a doctor, and he studied viciously day and night, all hours, just to improve his station in the school. He quickly earned a reputation as a doctor that maybe wasn't the most gifted, but certainly one of the hardest working. However, he worked himself clean off the edge of a mental cliff. Soon enough, the strain just became too much for the poor would-be doctor, and he started using his internship at the city morgue to smuggle out bodies and body parts. At first, no one noticed. The city morgue was just a paperwork mess, but soon enough, he got greedy and just ended up getting caught and confronted by his authority figures. Well, they didn't have any evidence, so they couldn't convict him of anything. They kicked him out of medical school just 1 year shy of finishing. And so in 1891, he found himself on his own without a profession. And he didn't let it deter him. Oh, no sirree. See, he came into a large sum of money from a relative who had passed on, if you will. And he took that money and he bought himself a nice little hotel here on the West Bank side of New Orleans. And after a little while, he'd opened himself up a nice little practice. Dr. Edgar Holmes, Discount Medical Services, as he called it. Now, the city, so desperately needing physicians and all, didn't really care that he didn't have a license or anything like that to do medicine. He just looked the other way. And besides, he was only treating criminals and the poor and anyone too embarrassed about their afflictions to go to the authorities, so it wasn't like it was a problem. But there was a problem. There was a very, very big problem. You see, most of the people that went there ended up getting, well, pretty good medical care for the age. But those who were unfortunate enough to have to stay overnight, well, they were a totally different story, you see. Dr. Holmes, as he liked to call himself, was performing experiments, doing organ transplants and skin grafts and cutting off limbs and sewing them on to other patients, burning people just to see if he could heal the skin, torturing them in all kinds of horrible ways, giving them diseases that were long since thought extinct here in the Western world, just to see if he could treat them. It was a terrible, frightening thing. Dozens of people locked up, prisoners in their own medical room, in their own little hospital beds, waiting for whatever evil devices the doctor had on for them. Well, eventually one of his patients got out and informed the authorities, and in 1899, he was caught. He was found to be mentally insane. Big shock there, I know. He ended up dying old and lonely in an asylum deep inside New Orleans. It was a sad tale that nearly was the end of poor Dr. Holmes. But old Bernie's got sympathy. He likes to see advancement in the medical industry, so he's bringing the good doctor back. 3 days only, October 28th, 29th, and 31st. This year, 2011. Come see him if you dare. Just hope you don't have to stay overnight, perhaps against your will. You never know what the good doctor might have in store, but the one thing you do know is that the doctor is in.